Governor Romney says he will replace and supersede President Obama's policy directive that would halt the deportations of up to 1.5 million illegal immigrants. The Republican presidential candidate spoke today before a group of elected Hispanic officials in Orlando, Florida.
Despite his promises, President Obama has failed to address immigration reform. For 2 years, this president had huge majorities in the House and Senate. He was free to pursue any policy he pleased, but he did nothing to advance a permanent fix for our broken immigration system. Nothing. Instead, he failed to act until facing a tough re-election and trying to secure your vote.
Joining us now, Senator Mike Crapo. He's one of 20 senators who sent a letter to the president questioning his legal authority to defer deportation proceedings. Senator, great to have you with us. I want, before we turn to the president and his action, I want to get a sense of what you thought about Governor Romney's proposition today on the issue of illegal immigration.
From the summaries I've seen of Governor Romney's speech, he's right on target. He's making the point that we need to have an immigration policy that is built on the rule of law, that those who have illegally entered the country should not be given advantage over those who are following the law in terms of gaining citizenship, but that instead we should focus on those highly skilled workers, on unification of families, and on providing support for those who have put their lives on the line to serve in our military to help them obtain a legal status.
Yeah, to me, this is one of those things of which there should be no argument about. Anyone who serves in the uniform of the United States military should have a path to citizenship for that service. And I applaud the governor for taking that initiative and for talking about running a government intelligently, effectively, for the benefit of those who come to this country lawfully, which, by the way, will, as he points out, reduce the number of people who would seek illegal entry by itself.
That's exactly right.
The idea, Senator, turning to your questions of the president and his authority to do what he did Friday last, and that is unilaterally order the Department of Homeland Security to create and then enforce, I suppose, or at least implement Obama law without regard to either the Constitution or the Congress.
Yeah, that's true, and Mitt Romney made a very good point. The president has had 2 years with the complete power in Washington, D.C. to work either with his own party alone or with the Republicans to build a comprehensive solution to the problem. Right. And he's failed to do so. And now he seeks unilaterally to use what's called prosecutorial discretion to simply ignore an entire part of our immigration law and seek to implement one part of his version of how we should do it without any consultation with Congress.
This president, tell me if you think I'm being unfair or harsh here, but it seems to me he has no hesitancy in telling Congress and those who would abide by both law, tradition, and the Constitution to go straight to hell, that he's going to do pretty much as he wants.
Well, I think you're right. In fact, if you go back to some of the president's statements when he was a senator, or even shortly after he was elected president, he made it clear that the law was out there that would stop a president from unilaterally seeking to implement his or her version of what they thought the law should be. Now he's taking a principle called prosecutorial discretion, which is something that's usually used to look at individual cases for individual circumstances and determine whether prosecution is justified. And he's applying it to entire classes of individuals in order to literally ignore the enforcement of a law that Congress has passed previously. And I don't know that the principle of prosecutorial discretion allows a president to simply say, this law I will enforce, and this law I will not only not enforce, but I will actively undermine its application.
And Senator, to the practical nature of what he's done, the idea, he said 800,000 people ages 16 to 30, but the reality is the estimates are just about double that. 1.5 million people would be eligible for his within his edict. There is no way that the Citizenship and Immigration Services Agency could even begin to process the background checks, the documentation that would be necessary, the registration for that many people for probably years. Am I mistaken in that analysis?
No, you're correct. And one of the points that needs to be made is that even the DREAM Act, which the President supports, requires that there be a determination made that those who are being given this special treatment are not felons, that they have either been educated in U.S. institutions or that they have served in the military. And for the federal government, under the President, to simply say, we're going to fail or cease to enforce the law against an entire class of individuals under an entire section of the law will require them to ignore most of that kind of decision making and just proceed indiscriminately in granting these special privileges.
Senator Mike Crapo, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.